Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla. I'm your host. And today we're talking about how real leaders reset expectations. So, if you've been following along, you know this is week 4 of our consistency series. But we had to take a little bit of a break for the last couple episodes to do our Halloween themed episode. And then I felt just inspired to share with you about the Echo Show It, kind of like our command center family calendar setup last week. So I hope you don't mind. But today we're jumping back in. In case you missed the earlier episodes, you can go back and check them out whenever you have time. Week 1 was redefining your best, how self aware leaders build realistic expectations. Week 2 was the hidden cost of unrealistic expectations, how to stop people pleasing at work. And week 3 was you don't have to hustle to be a great leader. So each of these lays the groundwork for what we're going to be talking about today. Like I said, how real leaders reset expectations. Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of 3, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. All right, but before we dive in, I want to share that I just wrapped up the Organized Leader Sprint last Tuesday. It was amazing. I had a blast. I got to hang out with Kim, one of my clients, and we had 4 weeks where I showed up live and did 60-minute coaching sessions. I taught and had slides and recorded the conversations and the lessons for 60 minutes. And then we left time at the end for questions, chatting. It was so much fun. Week 1, we focused all about time management, energy management, leader standard work, kind of how to build your personal blueprint to stop firefighting. Week 2 was delegation and communication with strategies for confidence boosters and how to let go without micromanaging. Week 3 was consistency and systems. We talked about routines and different tools to help, actually make your work stick. No more start and stop cycles for you or your team, roadmaps, Kanban boards, all the things. And week 4, we actually tied everything in a bow. We went from task oriented and then how to be strategic. And so we took a step back and started setting vision casting, and helping lead with impact. So much fun. It was awesome to have templates and tools to share, these times for accountability check-ins. And then we have private group access for the sprint inside our community, which is really cool. So I just had a really fun time, and it was great to just kind of see if this is something that I would want to host again. And it definitely is. So I just wanted to give you a heads up, because I know many of you are planners, and then also being in healthcare and other industries where it kind of gets busy around the holidays, or people tend to take a lot of time off during the holidays. I wanted to share this with you. So our next sprint is going to be January 13th. It'll be 4 weeks live and recorded for you. So it'll be every Tuesday, the 13th of January, and then go through, and we'll finish on February 3rd. So that's the next round of the Organized Leader Sprint. In case you're interested, I will be opening enrollment up a little bit earlier than I normally would with the holidays. So I'm going to open it up December 1st through the 9th. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that, because some people just don't listen to podcasts or things as we get around the holiday and Thanksgiving, that it will be open then. So if you're in my free podcast community or on my email list, you'll get notified. So if you are interested in the sprint, or you want to hear about it when it opens, go to kfaconsulting.org/sprint. And then I'm going to, instead of like the, sign up now button, it's going to say join the wait list. So it's just going to be a way for me to know that you're interested / get on my email list, so I can tell you when it's open so you don't miss it. So if you're interested, or you're like, oh man, I missed the last round, or I wasn't sure if it was for me, I'll be talking about it a little bit more on the podcast in the next coming weeks, but just know December 1st after Thanksgiving is when we're going to be enrolling for the next round. So the wait list is open now. You can go and save your spot at kfaconsulting.org slash sprint or just to let me know you're interested. All right, let's get on to the episode. All right, so there was a time in a season in my leadership where I said yes to everything. And now this wasn't necessarily a bad move. It's just something I did early in my career because my mindset was I need to learn everything, I need to see everything. And so I wasn't consciously being like, say yes to everything. I really wasn't. I was just like excited about the work. So, new projects, absolutely. Extra committees, why not? Late work, of course. I just thought that's what great leaders did and what I had to do to get the experience I thought I needed to be a great leader. And I believed that my value or like how important people thought I would be at work was related to how much that they saw that I could juggle. You know, how much could I put on my plate and still get it all done? And but over time I realized I wasn't really modeling healthy leadership. And what I was modeling was burnout. And I started to see this burnout manifesting in others on my team. They were basically mirroring my behavior. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, that's not normal. And it wasn't a normal expectation I wanted to set for anyone on my team. I had high expectations for myself, but it didn't mean that I wanted my team to burn out or my team to be sending emails at night, right? I didn't want that. And so I realized I had to reset expectations. And resetting expectations isn't failure. It, for me, was growth, it was learning, and it was leadership. And so when you model boundaries, you are giving your team permission to do the same thing. So it's one of the most, I would say, freeing realizations that I ever had. And it was, you know, that saying that's like, you can do anything, but not everything all at once. That's such a, I love that saying. It's true. We have different seasons in our life. But even more importantly, what I learned is my job isn't to do everything. Even though I'm capable, right? It was like, even if it's all interesting and I'm capable, it's not my job to do everything. And it certainly isn't. Otherwise, why would I have anyone else on my team, right? No, that's not the point. My job is to solve the right problems. So that's something that I teach inside the Organized Leader Sprint and to other coaching clients that I have. It's the importance of understanding the purpose of your role. It's a whole mindset shift that can really help you focus on the right things. So that's what I want to teach on next. All right. So, like I said, I teach this in the Organized Leader Sprint and in other lessons I've given. And it's thinking about the purpose of your role. So, there's two questions that you can ask yourself. One is, why does the role that I'm in exist? And what problems does it exist to solve? And you can sort of remove yourself from the equation. This has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with, okay, if it was just like everything is created equal and you have the job title, this is laid out in front of you, you're looking at the job description, why does this role exist? And you want to be really clear on what is the purpose of this specific role. Especially when you are clear on it, you stop trying to do everyone else's role. And so, something that I like to think about is the idea that I've given myself, and it's called the Kayla Sparkle. So, whatever your name is, think about your name plus sparkle. It's the uniqueness that you do bring to that role, right? And it's the way that you think about the role, maybe differently, more creatively, edgy than others. So there's sort of two ways to think about this. Why does your role exist on paper? And then what do you bring to the role as your extra sparkle? And so the first part of the question for me, let me think of it this way. Okay, so my current job in my healthcare role is one of the things I do is I'm the program manager for our blood bank program. Okay, so why does that role exist? It exists to help bring together multiple sites so that we're all accomplishing the same goal, which is really safe patient care, high quality care. We're able to provide the right blood products at the right time, right? Like that is the core of my goal or of my role. There's so many different ways to do that, right? Like lots of different tactics to do that. And then the sparkle piece that I bring to it is the flair, the how I do it, the how I think about doing it. And how do I solve the problems that my role is meant to solve? So, two different things, right? Like, what's the point of this job if anyone had it? And then how do I add my sparkle on top of it? And your sparkle doesn't mean that you're doing all the things all the time, right? The sparkle is how you stand out and become you at work versus like, okay, what is this role meant to do? What's the purpose of it? When you stop saying yes to things that aren't tied to the outcomes your specific role is meant to achieve, or your people on your team, their development, or let's say the organizational priorities, you start kind of discerning and I don't want to say doing less, but focusing more on the right things. If a task or a meeting isn't connected to your organizational priorities, your people's development, or any outcomes or results you're trying to achieve, it's probably not the best use of your time. It's not about being unhelpful, right? It's not that you don't want to help everyone, but you have to be strategic about your own work and about your people's work. So when you lead from your purpose, right? Like, what's the purpose of this role? Why does it exist? And not pressure or feeling like you need to help everyone do their work, you become way more effective and trusted because that gives you space and time to then add the layer of your sparkle or your uniqueness that you bring to that job. If you don't have the capacity to add your sparkle, you're probably just going through the motions. And that probably means you're doing too much or you need to set boundaries. So if you've ever felt super energized about a role and you feel like you're in your groove and you're doing it the way that you want to do it and you're sparkly, but then over time that sparkle starts to fade, it's probably because, scope creep or you're kind of like, you're at a time where you need to pause and assess, like, am I doing what my role is meant to do? Have I been given extra responsibilities? Is there something extra that's draining me? Do I really like this? Or is it that the focus has changed? And you want to think like, my role exists to solve problems, not to absorb everyone else's. So if there's been a little bit of that absorbing everyone else's, this is a good time to pause and reset those expectations. Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but I feel so much better when I get to lead with my unique value, my sparkle, than when I'm being dragged down and just overloaded and I'm just operating to check the boxes. That never feels great, right? All right. So, in this third segment of the episode, I want to talk about now that we know that maybe we want to reset expectations or we need to, how do we actually do that? How do we reset expectations? So there's 3 steps you can take. The first is clarify ownership. Step 2 is communicate early. And step 3 is schedule a reset. So let's go through those. Step 1, clarifying ownership. Look at your workload and ask, what's mine to own? And if it doesn't tie back to your role's purpose or goals, it might belong to someone else. And this is where boundaries have to become clarity, not avoidance. Step 2 is communicate early. When you set boundaries early, you show leadership maturity, right? You said that you're protecting yourself and others, protecting your accountability and others' accountability to their work. So there's 2 simple scripts that I love that I teach my clients to use. And you can say things like, I can take that on, but it'll push out this project. Which one should we prioritize? Or I'm at capacity this week. Could we revisit this next month? Or you can say, hey, you know what? I would love to help you with this. Why don't you get started and let me know what support you need from me, right? Like actually, if it's not your thing, letting other people know that they can get started and ask you for help when they need it, but they can't just come to you and dump, right? It's leadership, not avoidance. You're modeling accountability. And step 3, scheduling a reset every week or month. Block 15 minutes just to review expectations. Has anything shifted? Where do I need to clarify priorities for myself or for other people? And who do I need to communicate updates to? Having a ritual like this just keeps you aligned and consistent, even when things change. So I want to remind you that boundaries aren't barriers. They're just sort of like a structure that can be moved, but it supports your consistency. And if you need help, if you're thinking like, okay, say I need to delegate something, I want you to, if you've decided this is not mine, it's someone else's, I want you to go find my episode. I'll link it in the description or the podcast show notes on the TEST method, TEST for delegation. It's teachable, excited, strength, and willing to try. That's what it stands for. And it's how to delegate to the right folks. And also thinking about, if somebody can do this thing 80% as well as you, or 80% to whatever the standard is, you can delegate it. Or it's not, if it's something that's always been someone else's, but you just happen to have it on your plate, it's okay to go back and say, you know what? I said that I was able to help with this thing or that I would take care of it, but I realized I am at capacity. And technically, this thing is something that falls under your role. Are you able to take this back, or could we work together to find someone else who might be the right person to help tackle this? Right. Just like thinking about, well, you don't have to live with it if you made the wrong choice earlier, if you didn't communicate early enough. You can still reset and shift. And I think people appreciate that so much more rather than avoidance of the work. Okay, I want to share a real example of a reset in action from my own leadership in the last couple weeks. So I had been on a work trip out of town, and there was a meeting that was held, and I was not there, obviously, because I was on a work trip. And I somehow missed some follow up communication that I don't know if it happened or if I missed it or whatnot. But ultimately, there was a deadline that I found out about like a week and a half or 2 weeks before the deadline. And this thing that was being asked of me or the leadership team I'm on was kind of a bigger lift. And something I hadn't really been thinking about. So, like a week and a half, 2 week turnaround felt like a lot. And I had already been tackling a lot. It's finance season. I'm onboarding a new leader, all the things. And so my first reaction was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Like, I'm going to have to work late. And then I remembered, okay, no, you're trying to lead differently. So I thought, well, okay, what if it's not something I have to do? What if it's something someone else can help me do, right? Like, if there's a chance to help someone else grow and lead, is this a good opportunity? And I decided that for this specific thing, it was. So I thought of the person who I thought was interested, who had the skill, the strength, and would probably say yes. I reached out to them, kind of gave them a high level summary, and they're like, yeah, no problem. I have a few days actually coming up where I have more administrative time. I can totally work on this for you. I'm like, cool. I'll schedule a call to go over it with you. So scheduled a quick 30-minute call. We didn't even take the whole time. I delegated the task. I let them know when it was due back to me for review. They asked me a couple questions over the next week, sent it to me done, and I was able to send it off, and we met the deadline. Now, that was a whole mindset shift that I've been working on as I'm trying to do more directing with the amount of workload that I have. And so the question becomes, instead of how am I going to get this done, is how can this get done? Who can do this for me to help lead our team so that I can live in my capacity to be able to do the other things that nobody else can do? It felt so good. At the end of the week, I felt like I led in a different way. I showed the person I trust them, that I appreciate the work they can do. And then we worked together to get it done. And it was so much less effort on my part, but big impact still, because we were able to get everything done that we wanted to in the way that we felt we wanted to do it. And we met the deadline. So just, I don't know, wanted to share that win for you as a real way that you can have impact by remembering what is the thing that only you can do, what's the purpose of my role. And if you have an opportunity to say, well, no, I'm not going to just pause and do this item because it landed in my inbox, you can ask the question, well, who else can do this just as well as me so that I can maintain my boundaries? Other people can maintain their boundaries, but we can still have an awesome result. So just something to think about. I wanted to leave you with a couple reflection questions this week. So we've been talking about them. The first one is, why does your role exist and what problems is it meant to solve? And the second question is, where do you need to reset expectations so you can lead within that purpose? I know this is something I'm going to be thinking about this week, because the end of the year is here, y'all. I'm thinking about next year already, right? Like, I'm like, how do I show up differently in 26? Like, how do I level up a little bit more, take it to the next level? So, why don't you write it down? You can talk with your mentor, your advisor on it, or share it publicly, maybe on your LinkedIn. You can tag me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt. You can share your leadership reset story. I would love to hear from you, to celebrate you and highlight how you're leading with purpose or realistic expectations. Also, you can come inside our free podcast community. I'll have it linked in the show notes or the description. And that's where we are able to network. That's where you can have real-time notifications when new episodes go live. If you want to level up your membership in there, I have podcasts for members inside of it. That's where all the courses and everything else is at. And that's where you can get 20% off all the merch that I have inside. So yeah, come inside the community. Let us know what you're thinking about this week. So the big takeaway is we've got to lead within our capacity, because when we do that, it creates credibility, because we're actually able to get our work done rather than not being able to follow through. So consistency doesn't mean doing it all. It just means doing what's aligned, and resetting expectations isn't about letting people down. It's about leading them better. So if you want to go deeper into this work, join the waitlist for our next Organized Leader Sprint starting January 2026. We're going to focus on getting organized for the new year, setting goals up front, and creating systems to help you stay consistent all year long without burning out. So you can save your spot at kfaconsulting.org/sprint. Until next time, lead well, lead with grace for others and yourself. And I hope you lead realistically. Talk soon. Bye.